Welcome into Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, breaking down the latest news and rumors around the Houston Texans. And we're getting into one of my favorite segments on a Victory Monday. We're going a little horns up, horns down. I'm going to tell you who I thought played really well yesterday and who maybe has some room for improvement. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, let's just look at this scoreboard for a second and just marvel in this Texans victory. 19-16, going down to Nashville, beating up on the Titans. I absolutely love it. The Texans keeping their playoff hopes alive. Case Keenum, 23 of 36, 229 yards, a touchdown, an interception. But the man of the hour, Devin Singletary, 26 carries, 121 yards, no touchdowns. Should have had a touchdown at the very end, but we'll get to that later as well. Will Levis, 17 of 26, 199 yards, no touchdowns, a pick, but was also able to use his legs, was really good in the run game. I was a little bit surprised on how athletic Will Levis was after seeing him in prior weeks. I know what he did last week against the Miami Dolphins, but really was impressed with how he was able to use his legs up against the Texans. But before we get into horns up, horns down, before we get into anything else, I saw this on Twitter and I had to bring it onto the show because, JJ, I absolutely love the idea. He said, we get the uniforms back. That's how this works. I don't make the rules. Sorry, not sorry. Too bad, so sad. And honestly, I think this is how the NFL needs to approach this. The Oilers are from Houston. I get Tennessee left. The Oilers are from Houston. So I'm proposing this, Roger Goodell. Each year, the Texans and Titans will play one game where one of the teams gets to wear the throwback uniforms. Whoever wins gets to wear the uniforms the next year. Why not? The Texans, they won this game. They should wear the Oilers throwbacks next year. Whoever wins in this game deserves to wear them the next year. That's just what I'm saying. It only makes sense. It's only fair. JJ knows. JJ's the GOAT, and he gets it. Hey, and I just want to thank everybody who joined me for our Texans live watch party this past Sunday. It was an amazing time, and the Texans proved once again the Titans. They are the fake Oilers. They are the foilers. So if you agree with me, if you believe that the Oilers is a Houston team and it's disrespectful that the Titans chose to wear their throwback uniforms, have a throwback Oilers field while playing the Texans, spam foilers down below. Because they are the fake-ass Oilers. They are no Oilers team. They are the Tennessee Titans, and they are frauds. Now, getting into a little horns up, horns down on the day. I mentioned it earlier. First one has to be Devin Singletary. Horns all the way effing up. If he doesn't get triple the amount of carries than Dameon Pierce the rest of the season, Bobby Slowick, you are doing a disservice to this team completely. Devin Singletary, he showed you yesterday, when he gets the workload, he can make things happen. 26 carries, 121 yards, 4 receptions for 49 yards. Should have had a touchdown to seal the game at the end. Had that amazing run that was negated by a penalty, but Devin Singletary, have yourself a day. He was one of the reasons why I think the Texans not only stayed in it, but was able to win the game at the end of the day. Another person who really helped the Texans throughout the entire game was Noah Brown. Huge catch after huge catch. He gets a dumb offsides penalty and then immediately makes up for it with an amazing catch. Noah Brown on the day, 8 receptions, 82 yards, 4-8, and 1 touchdown. Noah Brown was outstanding. The biggest guy who to step up this week, especially with all the receivers hurt. Noah Brown, horns all the way up. Another guy, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz absolutely played well and probably the play of the game. I thought that was a complete interception at the very end of the game in the fourth quarter. But Noah Brown, he snagged that ish. He snagged it out of the air. Dalton Schultz, he absolutely saved the game for the Houston Texans when he made that catch inside the red zone. Dalton Schultz, for that catch alone, he had a good game, 4 receptions, 58 yards. But for that catch alone, Dalton Schultz, horns all the way effing up for this young man. I really think the Texans should consider re-signing Schultz this offseason. And the last offensive horns up for me, it's got to be Kaimi Fairbairn. I would say his full name, but there's no way in hell I'd be able to pronounce it. But Kaimi, we absolutely love you. It is amazing to have you back on the active roster. I'm so glad you're healthy because, I mean, going out for that 54-yard game-winning kick, I was nervous. Don't get me wrong. I was nervous, but I had a little bit of in myself where I was like, he's got this. I mean, he's got this. It's Kaimi Fairbairn. He's been clutch the past 2 years, and I really, really felt comfortable having him trot out there for the game winner. And if you agree with me, if you are so happy to have your kicker back, Kaimi Fairbairn, to have him back on the field, go down and like the video. Go down, because, I mean, 4 for 4 yesterday on field goal attempts, 1 extra point that he made as well. I mean, that's the difference in the Texans winning and losing the game, was those kicks by Fairbairn. And, I mean, having him back is so, so sweet. Now, going to the defensive side of the football, which, to be honest, I did 5. I'll have a little bit of an extra one at the end. I did 5 horns up, but I could have done 11 for the defense, and that's how well they played this past Sunday. Jonathan Grenard being one of them. I mean, look at these stats for the young man out of Florida. 6 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. He now has 12.5 sacks on the season. Grenard, he's going to get paid this offseason. And I wonder if the Texans are going to shell out the money to keep him around in Houston, because Grenard has showed he is an amazing edge rusher. He can be possibly a, edge one for you, be your top defensive edge rusher on a team. Jonathan Grenard has been playing so good down the stretch in a contract year as well. And along with him on the defensive line, Malik Collins. Where did this come from? Having the game of the year for him, I mean, was everywhere for the Houston Texans this past Sunday. 5 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits for the big man in the middle. Malik Collins was making an impact, and I absolutely loved it. What he was able to do, stifling the Titans' run game, getting some pressure up the middle on Will Levis in key situations. Malik Collins, I'm telling you, horns up for this young man right here. And the linebacking room, Denzel Perryman, what they did to Derrick Henry is absolutely astonishing. Henry, under 3 yards a carry. I mean, I think he had, at most of the game, he had more carries than he did have yards. Denzel Perryman was hitting him as soon as he crossed the line of scrimmage every single time, it seemed. I looked up Derrick Henry run, Denzel Perryman tackles him for a 1-yard gain. Derrick Henry run, Denzel Perryman right there for a 2-yard gain. He was absolutely electric this past Sunday for the Houston Texans, along with his running mate in the linebacking room, Christian Harris. Christian Harris was absolutely insane to start the game. I mean, I remember they tried to dump off a little screen pass to Derrick Henry for a 1-yard gain. Christian Harris blew him up at the line of scrimmage. His intensity this past Sunday was really able, keep the Texans' spirits high. I know they were down 13-0 towards, halfway through the second quarter, but Christian Harris, he was playing with intensity that really inspired the rest of this team. And obviously, I got to go with Steven Nelson for my last horns up on the defensive side of the football. A clutch interception for Nelson. Him and Derek Stingley together have been absolutely incredible. And that interception by Steven Nelson to go along with 2 tackles, 2 pass breakups on the day, I mean, that was one of the keys to victory for the Houston Texans, was they had to, win the turnover battle, or at least get equal in the turnover battle. That interception really, really helped the Texans out, put them in plus territory. And I couldn't go without naming Derek Stingley as well. He's my extra horns up for the Texans defense, because he made a couple plays that were absolutely astonishing this past weekend. And one of them being, I remember they had DeAndre Hopkins over the middle on a deep route. Derek Stingley was able to backtrack, recover, make an amazing play on the football, and get a pass breakup where if he wasn't able to get that ball, that's a touchdown for DeAndre Hopkins and the Titans. Derek Stingley had a couple amazing plays. Another third down stop where he was able to get a pass breakup was huge. So Derek Stingley, Steven Nelson, horns all the way up. And now for this question, I really don't know who was the MVP for the Texans in their win over the Titans. I'm trying to think, was it somebody? I want to say it has to be somebody on the defensive side of the football, but then I'm like, Kaimi Fairbairn made 4 clutch kicks as well. But this is why I have you, the audience, so I don't have to answer these questions. Go down and let me know who was the MVP for the Texans in their win over the Titans this past weekend? I'll be looking in the comment section. I'm really interested on what y'all have to say because I don't think there's a wrong answer. I really think there's like 4 or 5 correct answers to this question. And before we get going with some Texans injury news and rumors, I got to tell you about our deal with Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/Stroud to get one of these sick CJ Stroud jerseys for the holiday season. I know holiday shopping, last-minute shopping, it's really stressful right now. But get your loved one a CJ Stroud jersey. He is the future of this franchise. You'll be able to wear this jersey for years on end. So get it for your son, get it for your daughter, your loved one of your best friends, one of your coworkers. Do it right now before they sell out, because I'm telling you, once this team makes the playoffs, these Stroud jerseys are going to be a little bit harder to find until the offseason. So get them while they last. Go to chatsports.com/Stroud and get them today. Now, tough. I got to get into some horns down. Juice Scruggs wasn't, and I'm not saying these guys were completely atrocious, were awful, were horrendous the entire game. But overall, I think these guys really didn't play well for the entirety of the game. And one of those is Juice Scruggs. I mean, he got worked, absolutely worked by Nico on one play, letting a sack go. And he let a couple pressures through as well. So Juice Scruggs, obviously his rookie season, this is his third game back from injury. I mean, he's still a rookie, so a lot of room to grow, but this game was not a great one for Juice Scruggs. It's, DeMeco Ryan said on losses, they talk on Monday. Hey, real talk Monday. Let's look at the film and let's see what happened. Juice Scruggs, he's going to have a lot of real talk this coming week about how he played against the Tennessee Titans. Another guy, John Mechie III, another rookie wide receiver. I was really expecting more from him with Nico Collins out, with Tank Dell out, being, the second or third option for the Houston Texans, and he had 1 reception for 1 yard, and that's not even really why he's on my horns down right now, because obviously maybe there's other, factors, other circumstances. Maybe he wasn't getting the ball. Maybe he wasn't getting thrown the ball. Obviously didn't have a ton of targets, but had a huge holding call at the very end of overtime that negated a Devin Singletary touchdown. He probably, more than anybody, he's voting for Kaimi Fairbairn for his MVP this past weekend because that kick really, really saved John Mechie. If he doesn't make that kick, we're all talking about that holding call today. John Mechie, horns down. I still believe that he can develop into a really good wide receiver, but this year it's been kind of down for me for John Mechie. And lastly, don't come at me. Don't at me, Case Keenum. I know he came back. He was able to bring the Texans back to a victory. He played well in the second half, but that interception, pick six, could have been huge if this Texans defense wasn't playing out of their mind in the second half. And, to go along with that, in the overtime period, the Texans had the ball after stopping the Titans on the first drive. They get the ball, sack, they do a pass, little pass to Devin Singletary that goes nowhere, and then another sack. If the Texans defense doesn't step up in that overtime period, the Texans lose this game outright, easily. And Case Keenum really, he was able to manage the game. He was able to play well, but it really showed how good CJ Stroud is and how much he means to this team, because Case Keenum, the Texans outplayed the Titans for most of this game, especially on the defensive side of the football. Were able to move the ball, and Case Keenum was able to get it going in the second half, but he really had me worried in the first half and in overtime. Case Keenum, I got to give him a horns down, even though he was able to bring us back. Really clutch drive at the end of the fourth quarter. Got to give him his flowers for that, but overall, I really do miss CJ Stroud. And I miss nothing here on Texans Today with the latest Texans news and rumors. So if you want to get Texans news and rumors all year long, go turn on your notifications, subscribe to the channel. We're trucking along to 8,000 subscribers. We are the fastest growing Texans channel here on YouTube. So don't miss out. Don't miss a thing. Go down and hit that sub button today. Now getting into some injury news. Jimmy Ward left Sunday's game, did not come back with a concussion. Obviously, we've seen how that has played out for many Texans this year in concussion protocol. I'm wondering now, Jimmy Ward, I think he might miss this Browns game this next week. I mean, we've seen every single player that's had a concussion miss one game. Christian Harris missed a game. Henry Toto missed a game. I think most players that have a concussion probably miss in at least 1 week. So Jimmy Ward, be on the lookout for him on the injury report this week. I'm interested to see if he's able to play this weekend up against the Cleveland Browns. And speaking of concussion, CJ Stroud, he sat out a week in the concussion protocol. Will he return this week for a pivotal matchup up against the Cleveland Browns this weekend? I mean, CJ Stroud, he is the heart and soul of this team. The Texans were able to eke out a victory up against the Tennessee Titans, but the Browns are a better team than the Titans. I'm telling you that right now. And they'll need a better performance than they had this past Sunday if they want to win against Cleveland. And it's multifaceted this weekend. You win, one, better positioning for a playoff spot, and two, you have Cleveland's first-round pick this year. So if you can beat the Browns, if you can make sure that they don't make the playoffs, your pick in the 2024 NFL Draft gets higher and higher. So CJ Stroud, hopefully he's able to come back from concussion protocol, as well as Nico Collins. Sat out with a calf this past weekend, actually injured that same calf earlier in the year, sat out 1 week, was able to come back the next. So we'll see if Nico Collins is able to return this week after having that calf injury. Was able to practice later into the week, but I think the Texans, they didn't want to risk it, him re-injuring that calf. Had him sit out this weekend up against the Tennessee Titans, but will he return against the Browns in this coming week? And these guys did not practice at all this past week and really have me worried on whether or not they'll be able to return up against the Cleveland Browns at home. Will Anderson Jr. dealing with an ankle injury, did not practice at all last week. Neither did Blake Cashman with a hamstring or George Fant with a hip. So that's why you subscribe. Stay tuned. I'll be giving you the up-to-date news that you need to know on the Texans' latest injuries with Will Anderson, Blake Cashman, George Fant, CJ Stroud, Nico Collins. I'll break it all down throughout the week. So make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs if you want the latest Texans news and rumors, NFL memes, dank memes, talk about the NBA, talk about my life, anything. Go follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs and make sure you hit that sub button for the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube.